Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming to you from right here on my YouTube channel. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea, a very tired John Campea. I'll get to that in just a second. It is an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you, my international friends, joining me as we talk about our favorite things in the world, movies and movie news. And today, specifically, I'm going to talk a lot about Star Wars. Now, you guys have got to forgive me. If you're thinking to yourself, holy crap, that Campea dude, he looks like he just rolled out of bed. You're not wrong. Last night, my wife and I, Ann, we were at the Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker premiere and after party. We didn't roll in home until about 2:30 in the morning. Last night is when we both got home, and we're doing this show a special start time today at 7 a.m. For those of you watching later, we started this show 7 a.m. Normally we start 9 a.m. The problem is I've got another screening of Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker, to go to at 10 a.m. in Hollywood, so I had to do the show a little bit earlier today. But we're going to talk mostly today. We're going to take a lot of your live questions. You guys are sending in live questions. We're going to talk about anything you want to talk about. I know a lot of you guys are going to want to talk about Star Wars. I'm going to let you guys know this up front. I am not going to go into details on the Star Wars movie. I can't, not just non-spoiler, but the review embargo does not lift until midnight tonight. The social media embargo lifted last night, which means I'm free to give my quick reactions, my quick impressions. We're going to talk about a lot of other film pundits, their impressions and their thoughts of the movies we're going to go through. We're going to talk about a little bit where I think this puts this movie in the scope of Star Wars lore overall and all that sorts of good stuff. I'm going to play terrible host and force my guests to sit down and look at some pictures. I'm going to show you guys some pictures from the review last night. So no spoilers. And by the way, if there are cousin humping, basement dwelling, knuckle dragging losers out there who are going to just, if you're watching this live and you're in the live chat, they're going to be, look, you just got to know right now, they're going to be some losers that have no lives and they're pathetic, and that they're going to jump in the live chat and they're going to try to drop spoilers on people. So you may not, if you're worried about that, I can't really moderate it this morning. I'm watching it. I'm doing the show. I can't moderate. So you might want to stay out of the live chat this morning. Just saying. Okay. With that down, first of all, I want to talk about, so this is going to be a special installment of the John Campea Show, and again, guys, forgive me if I seem a little more loopy and spacey than I normally do, because again, I'm operating on about 3 hours sleep right now, so hang tight with me, would you guys? Cut an Italian brother some slack. Okay, I want to talk about my experience last night. First of all, Disney puts on remarkably fun premieres. They really do, especially first of all, they always put on really fun premieres, especially though they're Marvel and Star Wars premieres. They always go absolutely, completely full out with them. And I had an absolutely ridiculously good time last night. I just say that up front. I had a really good time. Ann and I have thoroughly enjoyed ourselves. We had a lot of fun, and we just had a good time. And so I'll just give you a couple, some insights into the sights and sounds that we saw last night. Just a couple of little pictures here. This is Ann and I in our limo pulling up to the event last night, which was great. Every year that we go, we like to take a limo just because it's really fun to take a limo of these things. So then when we get out of our limo, that picture you already saw. When we get out of our limo, or just as we're about to get out of our limo, we realize the person who just got out in front of us, because you see the limo in front of us there, right? Well, out of the limo in front of us gets Mark Hamill, which was pretty fun. That was cool. So then Ann and I get out of the limo, and then we see the person getting out of the limo behind us was J.J. Abrams, which was pretty cool. So we're like, oh my God, that's J.J. Abrams right there. And then the very first thing we walk up was this big, huge blue carpet. And there's Ann there, Ann looked amazing last night. Ann looked absolutely amazing last night. She looked fantastic. And then we start to go in, and the experience once you get inside these things is also crazy great. So we got inside and we got to start looking around, and where'd my picture go? There it is. And so here's me. They have this big Rise of Skywalker world premiere thing with the big X-Wing fighter and all that kind of stuff. Then we bumped into Kyle Newman, who I had here on the Dark Side Light Side show the other day. And Kyle took some pictures of Ann and I. Of course, his pictures look way better than mine because Kyle is, of course, an actual... he's a director, so he made his pictures look way better than the ones I took. Then I bumped into a lot of people I knew, including some of you know this guy. Bumped into him, bumped into Mark last night, which was great. But one of the highlights for the night, for Ann, and you got to understand, they always, they cater these premieres. They have great food, open bar, a lot of things. And they had some gourmet food there. But Ann never had a bigger smile on her face than she realized on top of all of that, they had a McDonald's trailer there where Ann got to go in and get all the McNuggets you can eat. This is a terribly lit picture, but you see Ann there. You can't see the smile on her face, but oh my God, she was happy. Oh my God, she was happy. And just a great, positive, wonderful environment. I love going to these things. They're a lot of fun and all that kind of stuff. That said, let's talk about the movie for just a second. I will basically repeat what my initial reactions were online to give you my feeling on the film. Then we're going to go and look at some other pundits who saw it, and we're going to look at their reactions to the film, a lot of which will be different than mine. Some of them will be similar. And let me give you some background. I really like J.J. Abrams, and I thought The Force Awakens was fantastic. I love The Force Awakens. I love that movie. It's my favorite of all the new Star Wars movies. Then, Last Jedi came out. I like Last Jedi. And I know everybody cries, no, how can you like Last Jedi? Sorry. Suck it. I like Last Jedi. I have my issues with it. I have some problems with it. I do. I agree with some of the criticisms of the film, but I disagree with some of the other criticisms of the film, and I like it. It's not as good as The Force Awakens, but I enjoyed it. I thought they did some pretty bold, cool things with Luke. There's some other things they did that I did not think were so good, but overall, I like that movie. So now we come into Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker. First thing I'm going to tell you is that as the movie starts off pretty quickly, I realize they're doing some things I knew that they would do, and they did some things that I really didn't think they were going to do, and I didn't want them to do. But like we always do in a movie, I'm like, okay, so they're going to go in this direction that I didn't think they would or that I didn't want them to. Let's see how it plays out. Because a lot of times we go to movies, they do something you don't want them to do, and it plays out great. And I'm going to just repeat what I said on social media last night. Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker is a movie that has some very big, fantastic, bombastic moments. It does. And I think this is a movie that a lot of people are going to like. And I think there's a lot of crowd-pleasing elements in the film that I think a lot of people will really enjoy. And I think there's going to be a bunch of people, I think a bunch of you, and I think a bunch of others are going to come out of the movie going, wow, I had a really good time. Because I think there's elements there to support that. However, as I said on my social media postings last night, unfortunately, I'm not one of them. Now, full marks to J.J. Abrams for trying some bold, different things. The Star Wars fandom has become a toxic cesspool the last couple of years, unfortunately. And I think J.J. Abrams found himself in a position where he was desperately trying to bridge the gap. One of the things you can tell about watching this movie is that J.J. was really trying to bridge the gap in the Star Wars fandom and try to give something that everybody would like. And if you understand how much of a toxic cesspool the Star Wars fandom has been the last few years, then you know that that task is a Herculean thing to try to do. That is a borderline Kratos God of War level difficulty, really hard, difficult thing to do. And J.J. Abrams, to his immense credit, he stepped in and tried to deliver on that promise and made some very bold choices, made some very big decisions, did some pretty far out things in a great attempt to try to bridge the gap and to try to make a lot of people happy. And I applaud him for it. I do. I applaud him for it. I applaud him for the decisions. He was trying to make Star Wars fans happy. It's what his bold attempt was to do. Unfortunately for me, while I think those decisions and those bold choices are going to work for a lot of people. So I'm not trying to yuck on anybody's yum here. All right. Let's just be clear. I just got to be honest with you and say it did not work for me. Not because of the choices he made, not because of any of that. You can go in any sort of story direction, whether it's a story direction I wanted you to go in, which we've seen, or whether it's going in a story direction I didn't want them to go in, which can still work out great. None of that's important. To me, it's just the execution of it didn't work. And I personally walked out of Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker disappointed. Again, that's not to say that nobody should go see it. That's not to say that no one's going to like it. That's not to say any of the trash talking you're going to hear some people do. It's just simply, film is subjective. I walked in, I watched the movie, didn't work for me. Now, unfortunately, because the review embargo is still in place, I can't really go. All I can do is reiterate what I said on social media. If you guys saw my YouTube video last night, and if you read my Twitter last night, you already knew what my opinion on this was. I had high hopes, but I managed my expectations. Big fan of JJ, love The Force Awakens, and I acknowledge the stuff that he was trying to do. But for me personally, it just didn't work. Now, let me address for a second, if you guys will so indulge me, and again, forgive me for being a little bit more spacey and loopy than I even normally am. Again, I'm operating on just north of 3 hours sleep. Let me address something here. I knew last night, and I've been in this game long enough, that I knew going into Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker, that if I came out not liking the movie, I was going to get trashed and branded as a Disney hater. I knew I would get a lot of people going, will this and will this. Okay, I knew that going into the movie. I also knew going into the movie that if I came out of the premiere of Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker loving the movie, I knew there would be the opposite trash effect of, well, you like everything Disney, which I clearly don't, because I've given a lot of negative reviews to a lot of Disney films, and I criticized Disney a lot on a bunch of different things. But I knew if I didn't like it, a bunch of people were going to make up excuses for why I didn't like it. If I did like it, a bunch of people were going to make up excuses to why I did like it. So I knew that. And a lot of people will look for why. Why? This is the toxic state of Star Wars fandom right now. Is that I knew there would instantly be people trying to create their own excuses for why I felt the way I felt about Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker, no matter how I felt about Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. And sure enough, as soon as I came out of the movie, and as soon as I popped up my reaction to the film, and I put up, I think a lot of people are going to like it, but it's not for me, I was disappointed. As soon as I did that, the excuses started coming. I saw people writing on Reddit, well, Campea just said that because he liked The Last Jedi, and if this movie, he's just going to trash on anything JJ does because he's a defender of Rian Johnson, and that's why he's saying he didn't like... No. Look, I've told you guys for a long time, and I've exhibited this. You can agree with my opinion, and you can disagree with my opinion. That's all cool. That's great. That's what film fans do. We agree, we disagree, we have exchanges, we go back and forth, we expose each other to different points of view. That's great. But you guys who watch me regularly know, I will always give you, not the opinion you necessarily agree with or disagree with, I will always just give you my opinion as it is for real. I'll just give you my opinion. And you know that whether you agree or disagree with my opinion, you know you're getting my honest opinion. And that's all I have to offer. And that's all I ever offer. So when you hear me say that, like, I I don't like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., you guys know I'm being honest. You can disagree, but you know I'm being honest. When I say I like the Star Wars The Last Jedi, you can agree or disagree, but you know I'm being honest. I liked it. Not for any reason, not for any excuse people make up, but simply and exclusively because I walked into a movie, I watched it, and I had an experience with it, and then I communicated to you my experience, good, bad, or somewhere in the middle. And I think it really speaks to the toxic nature of the Star Wars fandom today that, number one, I came out saying I didn't really enjoy the film. And we've got people on one side making up excuses as to why I'm saying I didn't like it. And you just said you didn't like it because Rian Johnson defended her, or because of this, or because of that, or because he hates Disney, or blah, blah, blah. And then on the other side, this also speaks to the toxic nature of Star Wars fandom today. Like celebrating the fact that I didn't like it almost like a victory, because the Star Wars fandom is so toxic today. We literally have quote unquote fans who organize themselves around the idea of hating Star Wars and hating the new Star Wars. And they actively want Star Wars to be bad. And they take their hatred and their negativity as some sort of victory if there are people like me who didn't like the movie. So it really, again, on both sides, it's a kind of a testimony to the toxic nature of the Star Wars fandom today. And it breaks my heart a little bit that that's the nature of Star Wars fandom. As for me, I still love Star Wars. I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I love Star Wars deeply and passionately, and I like a lot of the new stuff. Obviously, my favorite stuff is the original trilogy stuff for sure, but there's a lot of the new stuff I totally love. And I didn't like this one. Okay, I didn't like this one. That's fine. I can watch Mandalorian later today, because today's Wednesday. Actually, it might even be up online right now. I don't know. I've only slept for about 3 hours. I can still celebrate and have a good time with my fellow Star Wars fans at events like this that I'm very fortunate and lucky enough to go to. But no matter how good the party is, no matter how good the premiere event is, no matter how much I love Star Wars to start with, I'm going to come out of a premiere and I'm going to give you my honest opinion. I always do. And again, let me emphasize this. Just because I didn't like it doesn't mean you're not going to like it. You might go see the Star Wars movie and have the best time ever. And I hope that you do. I hope that you do. I hope the vast majority of you will disagree with me about Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker when you see it. I hope all of you have a completely different experience from it than I did. And if you come out of Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker having had a good time, I'm going to celebrate that. And I'm going to cheer for it. And I'm going to be really happy that you had the time that, unfortunately, I myself didn't. Now, again, some of you are probably screaming at me right now saying, John, give us details. Why? Tell us the things you didn't like. And I can't do that right now because the review embargo is still in place until I think midnight tonight, at which time I will go and give my things. And I'm going to go see Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker again in just a couple of hours. But listen, let's now look at what some other people thought about Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. A bunch of whom disagree with me, a bunch of whom agree with me. Let's go see what other people thought about it, and then we'll talk about that, all right? We're going to start things off here with Mike Ryan. I know Mike. Mike's a good guy. Mike writes, Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker is certainly the most convoluted Star Wars. There is a lot I like. But the first half gets so bogged down with exposition and new plot and doodads, beacons and transmitters, it feels like it should have been 3 movies on its own. My favorite Star Wars are the ones that take their time and focus on the characters. The whole first half felt like all exposition. It does get better, and Lando rules, but there's so much plot, it feels so rushed, and the Emperor stuff is so weird. Laura Prudham writes, I'm still processing Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. The emotional highs are spectacular, and there are a lot of payoffs, some earned, some not. But some choices feel like an unnecessary course correction from The Last Jedi, and some just plain don't make sense. I need to see it again. Kyle Buchanan writes, Rise of Skywalker could only have been ruder to Rian Johnson if they had motion smoothed it. And again, I have some things to say about that. Myself, guys, I do. I have some things to say about what Kyle just wrote, but I can't because there's a review embargo. So I'll go more into that stuff on the John Campea Show tomorrow about the Rian Johnson aspect of that. Yolanda Machado writes, I'm not too surprised, and at times I felt too much fan service was given. But The Rise of Skywalker is everything and nothing that you're expecting. So I guess my immediate reaction is, God, I love this franchise, and I'll miss the Skywalker saga. Adam B. Very writes, I'm going to need a minute to digest. Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker, there's so much movie in this movie, but its best moments are usually the quietest and most human, giving this more of a think through. Eric Davis from our friends over at Fandango wrote, epic, all of it. Hashtag Rise of Skywalker is a terrific finale that is just stuffed with so much of everything: action, adventure, answers, humor, heart, love, and grit. I spent the entire second half with tears in my eyes, a wonderful way to end the Skywalker story. Chris Taylor writes, Rise of Skywalker is a lot. It's like 9 movies of plot in one. It's going to take me about 9 days to process. Angie Hahn writes, The Rise of Skywalker is, a lot. Tons to love here. No shortage of crowd-pleasing moments and twists and cameos, but also quite a bit to ponder. Some faves, Yana, I think that's you, I think Dio, the new little droid, Finn, of course, and what a lovely send-off to our General Leia. Anthony Brezikin writes, when people talk about Star Wars, they talk about their childhoods, their best memories. The people they loved and shared with The Rise of Skywalker brings back all those feelings and then some. I absolutely loved it, and now I feel R2-D2. Jermaine Lucier writes, Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker has everything you want and more, which I don't necessarily think is a good thing. I loved parts, I didn't love others, and I'm leaving the theater very, very conflicted about it. All right, Mark Ellis, who I just had a picture with, writes, I'm emotional, overwhelmed, surprised, shocked, and stunned. More than anything, I'm happy. Thanks for coming through one more time, Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker. Gray Drake writes, now that's what I call an ending. Hashtag Rise of Skywalker. Matthew Ball writes, the seams from Disney Star Wars director changes, rush production schedules, etc. are still present in The Rise of Skywalker, but most fun. Gorgeous, rewarding of the films. Not sure Palpatine Empire needed a third trilogy, but what matters is the conclusion of Kylo Rey it delivers. All right. A few more to go through here, guys. Matthew Ball writes, there are so many moments of pure audience delight. At one point in the middle of Rise of Skywalker, somebody yelled, yeah, JJ. It's true. Somebody in the theater did do that. And the whole audience erupted into cheers. This happened several more times. It's the most original trilogy since the original trilogy. Eric Eisenberg from over at Cinema Blend writes, there is good in Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker, but there is more that is disappointing. There are a number of choices that just don't track, fan service that doesn't work, and ignored details that are missed. I'm bummed. Hashtag The Rise of Skywalker. And then overall, Cinema Blend, the site, right? Well, Rise of Skywalker is a drastic departure from The Last Jedi, but also not as invigorating as The Force Awakens. It is a movie packed with action. It's seriously nonstop, and it is. But also jammed with fan service. Star Wars fans, brace for debates. So there you have it, guys. Overall, I think we're seeing a generally pretty positive, generally kind of positive feelings towards the movie, but also a little bit more divided than what we saw, say, coming out of some of the previous Star Wars films. Listen, I'll tell you a couple of things that they said in here, that a bunch of the people said in here that I absolutely track with. It's packed. The movie is absolutely packed. Some might consider that a good thing. Some might consider that a bad thing. There is a lot of action in this movie, no doubt. So if you're somebody going into a Star Wars movie and you just want to see a lot of action, then Merry Christmas, you're about to get your wish, because there's a lot of action in this movie. But yeah, so there you have it, guys. There's the general consensus, the general feelings of a lot of people coming out of Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker. Again, I think these reactions are mixed enough that you should not be too encouraged, but not too discouraged either. Because you saw in there's a lot of people that like this movie and had a good time. And then you also saw there's a number of people who had some issues with it. I unfortunately am one of them. I didn't really have a good time. I'm hoping my second experience will be a little bit better, that I'm going to go see in a couple hours. But maybe not. So guys, there you have it. That's my thoughts. The general reaction to Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker. I'm now going to go over and take your live questions, because a bunch of you guys have been firing in live questions. You can ask about Star Wars, but I'm going to let you know right now, heads up warning, You may ask questions that I'm not able to answer, but I will try to answer as vaguely as I can without breaking review embargo, because I want to honor review embargo. Or you can ask about other things too. And again, my voice is gone. I was talking very loud last night because the party was very loud and all that kind of stuff. But all right, let's dive over and start getting into it. We're going to start things off here with Douglas Armstrong, who writes, if episode 9 is better than The Last Jedi, I'll be happy. Only excited for episode 9 to see how the series will end. And that's going to be a subjective thing. Whether or not you think this movie was better than the last movie or the last movie was better than this movie, that's going to differ from person to person. So you can answer that question, Douglas Armstrong. So here's hoping you enjoy it. I hope you have a good time. J Master writes, where are we at here? The Seahawks won big against the Panthers yesterday, 34 to 20 PKs. I believe I got to that question last time, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, Threshold X Games writes, hey, John, if Joaquin Phoenix wins the Oscar as the Joker, it'll be the second time 2 actors win for playing the same character. Can you name the first? The first will be Vito Corleone, which won for Marlon Brando and Robert De Niro. Marlon Brando in a Best Lead Actor category, Robert De Niro in a Best Supporting Actor category, as a matter of fact. Lewis Round writes, which is ironic because Robert De Niro appears in the Joker movie. Lewis Round writes, hi, John. Any chance of seeing the White Stormtrooper revolt against Kylo and fight for the Resistance versus the Sith Troopers? Give me a percentage. Well, unfortunately, this is clearly a question that got sent in prior to me seeing the movie. All I can say is I am now disqualified from giving you an answer because I saw the movie. So I'm not going to answer that question in any way, shape, or form because I don't want to spoil anything for anybody. Elijah Anderson writes, hey, John, just thought I don't want to see a Snyder cut, but it would be cool to see a Lord and Miller cut of Solo, but probably won't happen. Oh, no, that would cost them millions and dozens of millions, if not hundreds of millions, to redo. And I'll be honest with you, I love Lord and Miller. You guys know I love Lord and Miller, but everything I've heard about what they were doing with Solo, I'm actually quite happy that we didn't get it. So personally, I'm not interested in it. And I do like the version of Solo that we got from Ron Howard. I thought he did a really good job pulling that movie together. And from everything I've heard and the people I've talked to behind the scenes, the direction that movie was going in, I don't think I would have been happy with. So I'm just as happy to not get it. I'd be curious to see a Snyder cut if it actually existed. But I wouldn't be interested in the Lord Miller cut, unfortunately. All right. Was that Elijah? It was. Okay. Brendan Barr writes, as an avid Cineplex moviegoer, it excites me to possibly get a subscription model to see movies. Hopefully this purchase me to get a lot better. For those of you who don't know what he's talking about, yesterday in the John Campea Show, we discussed that Cineworld, the big UK movie theater chain that recently bought Regal Cinemas in the United States, has also just bought, or at least have the agreement in place to buy Cineplex, which is the biggest and pretty much the only movie theater chain in Canada, which I think is only good news for everybody, and I hope that works out. And I hope Cineworld, which has been doing movie memberships for over a decade, and now they've brought movie memberships to Regal, hopefully they'll do that for Cineplex as well. Patrizia writes, do you think the possible reason De Niro might be shut out of the awards season race is because of the situation with his ex-aide? No. The Academy's basically votes for who they think is best, and that's it. And listen, a lot of people thought De Niro might be a favorite, but the actors aren't seeing it that way. The actors, the Screen Actors Guild and the members of the Screen Actors Guild, all the Hollywood actors, just happen to see that they believe 5 other performances were better than Robert De Niro's. That's not a slap to Robert De Niro or anything like that. It's just that out of the 1,000 best lead performer actors this year, they didn't quite put Robert De Niro in the top 5 performances. So I don't think there's any more reason other than that. I think a lot of us are looking for reasons. But the real bottom line is probably just, no, they thought De Niro was great, but they thought these other 5 just happened to be a little bit better this year. I think that's all it comes down to. And by the way, he still may get an Academy Award nomination. Just because he didn't get a nomination from SAG doesn't mean he won't get a nomination from the Academy. So let's see how that all plays out. R. Lee writes, Apple TV Plus, I was looking forward to The Banker with Samuel L. Jackson and Anthony Mackie, and that just got pulled. Found out Apple quietly shelved it due to the allegations from family members. This movie is done. Will it ever be released? It'll get released. Yeah, listen, the producers put way too much money into this movie to just throw it away. So maybe you'll have to go buy it on Google Play. Maybe you'll have to buy it in the iTunes stores. Maybe Netflix doesn't carry it. Maybe as Apple Plus isn't going to carry it. But somehow, some way, in some shape or form, you will see this movie released in some fashion. Because, again, the producers have put up tens and tens and tens of millions of dollars to make that movie. They're going to want to get it released to the public somehow, some way. Where and how long from now, not sure yet, but it'll happen. It will happen at some point. All right, Christopher Donahue writes, will we get your first impression of the movie tonight? And of course, so this came in before last night, and obviously you did. I gave my first impression last night. When I came out, I put it on Twitter, and I put my first impression on YouTube as well. And now I just gave it to you here again. All right, Kinky Sphincter writes, Kristen Stewart awarded Actress of the Decade. I have not seen that. I've not seen that. Let me see if I can pull something on that up. Hold a second. Kristen Stewart, Actress of the Decade. Is there actually something about that? Oh yeah, look at the Hollywood Critic Association, which is a small association. So that what clearly that means, and sometimes you'll see this with these award shows, they'll give an honor to an actress that will actually show up. So they probably had a list of actresses, but the actress wasn't going to show up to their event to get the award. Obviously, listen, I think Kristen Stewart's a very good actress, actually. I really do. She is a very good actress. But she was in Twilight. I know, but she's actually quite a good actress. Doesn't mean she's always in the best movies, though. But is she the actress of the decade? Clearly not. Clearly not. And then King Sphincter was raised by the Hollywood Critic Association. So yeah, I wouldn't. Don't worry about that. Don't let that bother you, Kinky. All right. The Sin Bin writes, recently Daisy Ridley took a shot at Trump. Do you think it's a good idea for celebrities to get into politics? I feel like they alienate a lot of people. Here's what I think. I think politics are important to our world. I don't talk politics on my show because whether you're left or right or centrist, we're all movie fans here, and this is a safe place to be a movie fan. However, whether you're a plumber, whether you're a banker, whether you're a tow truck driver, whether you're a city alderman, whether you're a babysitter, whether you're an architect, whether you're a cinematographer, or whether you're an actor, politics represent very important issues in our society, and everybody should have a voice about the really important issues in our society. And everybody should have a voice. To say that actors shouldn't talk about politics is like saying, you're a plumber, you shouldn't be allowed to talk about politics. What are you talking about? Politics affect my life. Of course, as a plumber, I should talk about politics if I think they're important to our society and I think they directly impact my life. I should have a voice and I should have an opinion. And I absolutely agree with that. And I don't think that changes if they're a thing. And here's the thing, too. I cannot believe how insufferably weak-minded so many of the people in our culture are on both sides. Because, because, I don't know, Clint Eastwood has different political beliefs than me that, I'm not going to go watch a Clint Eastwood movie because he has a different political belief than I. If you're like that, go home. Go home. So, yes, I think actors, regardless of whether you're an Andy Garcia, who I just went to go see a live stage play last week, whether you're Andy Garcia having one certain point of view on politics, or you're another actor who has another point of view on politics, yeah, you should be free to voice your opinion on them. And, I don't think we as people should determine, I'm not going to go and support your work if you aren't of the same political opinion as me. Oh, come on, give it a rest. Give it a rest. Come on, don't be stupid. Anyway, that's just my thought. It's just my thought. Okay, anyway, Man Mountain Gherkin writes, I don't count Gondor as a climactic battle. I think the Black Gate is a climactic battle. Listen, I think there's an argument. I don't agree with you, Man Mountain Gherkin. I don't agree, but I think there's an argument there to be made. I think I think there's an argument to be made there for that because of where in the story the movie, the battle takes place. So I think you have an argument. I don't necessarily agree, but I think you got basis to make an argument for that. Kipper Khan writes, Disney Plus moved up Mandalorian to Wednesday, stating you'll definitely want to watch through the end credits. Thoughts on connection between Mandalorian and Episode 7? Well, we've been saying this for a long time. There is no connection between the Mandalorian and episodes and the new Star Wars movies. They are simply moved the Mandalorian, the new episode, to Wednesday, so they can help promote the release of Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker on Thursday and tease a exclusive clip, an exclusive sneak preview of Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker on Mandalorian, and that's why they moved it from Friday to Wednesday for this week. So yeah, but no, there's no connection. We've been saying that forever. There's no connection between Mandalorian and Star Wars, and so there's that. All right, Douglas Armstrong writes, do you think Episode 9 will be the best or worst of the sequel trilogy? Again, I've already seen it. I have my opinion, but I mean, other people are going to have different opinions. So I can't obviously tell you what I think it'll be because I've already seen it. So I got to disqualify myself out of that discussion there, Douglas, unfortunately. Suthius writes, one change I've seen to Regal, assigned seating. Well, remember, Regal was starting to roll out assigned seating is the best. They were already starting to roll that out anyway. But just like AMC has assigned seating, but there are still some AMC theaters out there that don't. It will happen. They will all have it at some point. Suthius also writes, and assigned seats are in regulars, not just IMAX. Yeah, I mean, every movie theater in America should have pre-assigned seating. These aren't the dark frickin' ages. And we're getting there. We're getting there. We're getting closer and closer to a utopian movie theater experience where every single seat is a pre-assigned seat. Mala writes, hey, John, going through IMDb for me, the 80s has to be the best collection of movies to date, regardless of genre, especially horror and comedy. You know what? There was a lot of great comedy in the 80s. A lot of great horror in the 80s as well. When it comes to comedy, though, I'll go against the grain here. I actually think the 90s take the gold medal when it comes to comedies. Now, I know that's not going to be popular, and that's not to say there aren't absolutely iconic, forever amazing comedies out of the 80s. Of course there are, but I actually kind of prefer the comedies in the 90s. That's just me, but we're all going to have a different opinion about that. But yeah, Mala, there's a lot of great comedies in the 80s, absolutely, and particularly horror. We've been seeing a little bit of a horror resurgence in the last couple of years. Let's hope that continues. All right, Jay Master writes, who sends in a really large super chat. Thank you, Jay, for supporting the channel on that level. John, I work as a janitor at my nearby Regal movie theater in Renton. One of the managers told me that they're getting laser projection in all of their theaters around the Seattle area by Christmas or by early 2020, which is great. Now, listen. The laser projection thing is the next evolution, I think, in movie theaters. We went, of course, from film projectors to digital projectors, and now we're getting into laser projectors. One of the reasons why I love the Dolby cinemas and the AMC Prime cinemas is because they have a dual laser projection system, which gives you the richest colors, the deepest blacks, the brightest whites, beautiful contrast and imagery. I actually even prefer, so much so that I prefer, personally, going to a dual laser, and there's single laser projection as well. But I actually prefer going to a dual laser projection theater than an IMAX theater. I really do. And there's some crossover in there as well. But yeah, laser projection is fantastic, and everything will start evolving that way. All right, where are we at here? Ben Burnside writes, one of two. Hey, John, I have naturally gotten more into watching Star Wars on YouTube with it being Star Wars season. I enjoy the Dave Filoni Clone Wars TV show, but I might have to say that the previous cartoon Clone Wars series is a little bit better. Yeah, I am different from a lot of my Star Wars loving brethren. I'm not a big fan of Star Wars Rebels. And I know a lot of people are. A lot of my friends love Star Wars Rebels. There are certainly things about Star Wars Rebels that I appreciate, or I should say Star Wars Clone Wars. I actually prefer Rebels. I prefer Rebels personally over Star Wars Clone Wars, but that's a matter of taste, whatever. No wrong answer there. But yeah, I'm a little bit on the different side. So I don't know if I prefer like that original Clone Wars stuff versus the Clone Wars stuff that came afterwards. I don't know about that. I just know that my favorite animated style or stuff out of Star Wars has actually been Rebels myself. So that's just me. Let's see. Ben also writes as a follow-up, the action in the series is ridiculously good and nonstop. The way they also portrayed and introduced General Grievous on the show is so badass. That It's unfortunate that we got the sick and whiny version of that character in episode 3. Great stuff. And again, that's all a matter of opinion. That's all a matter of opinion. Some people love that character. Some people don't. Some people like one incarnation of the character. Others don't. I am just not, either in animated or in live action, I'm not a fan of the Grievous character in any way, shape, or form. I'm really not, but that's just me. Others are, and some prefer one, and some prefer the other. And that's all great. That's part of being a film fan. All right, Joshua Levesque writes, "Hey, John, thanks for all the great content." Well, thank you, Joshua. "Since you've already talked about what you think of The Rise of Skywalker, are there any cameos that you noticed? Also, did you and Anne sit near or interact with any celebrities? Hope you had a great time." Well, I'm not going to reveal any cameos. I mean, obviously, that would be a spoiler. And even if the review embargo was lifted, I'm not going to give any spoilers here. I'm not going to talk about any cameos. Yeah, Anne and I sat 2 or 3 rows behind Pedro Pascal, Elizabeth Banks. We sat across from the Property Brothers. For those of you who watch HGTV, we sat across from the Property Brothers. Oh, and you know who was the date of one of the Property Brothers? Like, one of the Property Brothers is married. But the date of the other Property Brother, Jonathan, the architect one, his date was Zooey Deschanel. New Girl. 500 Days of Summer girl. She was his date last night. So like Anne was like, "Oh my God, are they a couple?" I was like, "I don't know. For all I know, they've been together forever," but I was a little bit surprised by that. So that was their date. Who else did we sit by? We sat behind Gina Carano. We sat behind her. She obviously was just in Mandalorian. We sat just a little bit over from Deborah Chow, who's going to be the director of the Obi-Wan series. So yeah, we got to sit around, and obviously Ming-Na, because for whatever reason, whenever I go to any Disney event, I end up sitting close to Ming-Na. I'm not sure why, and I'm not complaining. Anyway, thanks for asking, Joshua. All right, Chris Shorbis writes, "Hey, John, good day, sir, and good day to you, my friend. I agree with you saying about good storytelling no matter the medium, and seeing animation as a medium and not a genre. I feel animation tends to get overlooked, but just like anything done right, and it can be powerful." Oh, I absolutely agree. You know, I talked the other day on my show about how the fact that there was a stretch there in the 90s, early 2000s, where like 7 years in a row, it was something ridiculous, like 7 years in a row, the #1 critically rated film of the year just happened to be an animated film. And none of those years did that animated film get nominated for Best Picture. Now, that started to change. We have seen some animated films get nominated for Best Picture. We saw Toy Story 3 get nominated for Best Picture. I believe Up got nominated for Best Picture. Those films joining the first ever film to be nominated, animated film to be nominated for Best Picture, which was Beauty and the Beast. So that's changing. But yeah, I don't know how I feel. It's a little bit of semantics. I both look at animation kind of as a genre, but more of a medium. And to me, the best stories are the best stories. It doesn't matter what medium they're in. And if one of the best movies of the year just happened to be in the medium of animation, it should be nominated for Best Picture. That's just kind of my thought on that. Chris also writes, "Have you ever seen the River Wild? It came out in 1994 and has a great cast with Meryl Streep, Kevin Bacon, David Strathairn, John C. Reilly, Benjamin Bratt, and Joseph Mazzello. If anyone hasn't seen it, I recommend it. It's edge of your seat fine." I'll be honest with you, no, I never saw it. Let me pull it up though here on my IMDb page. Oh, a second. The River Wild, IMDb. I'm gonna look into that one a little bit later. Thank you for the recommendation. Directed by Curtis Hanson, Meryl Streep, Joseph. Yeah, big cast. Victor Galloway's in it. Thomas F. Duffy's in it. All right, I'll at least. I'm not necessarily saying we're gonna go watch the movie because I don't have a lot of time, but I'll look more into that. Thank you for the recommendation, man. I appreciate that. All right, Dangerous Lee writes, "I remember in the early mid to 2000s reading headlines like Sony becomes first studio to gross $1 billion at the box office this year. And in 2019 alone, Disney has $6 billion films, soon to be $7 billion films. Absolutely mental." It's true. It's true. And that's both affirming and assuring. It's also a bit concerning seeing that type of dichotomy. Because on the confirming thing, hey, more people going to see these movies. On the concerning part, it's a little discerning is that more people are going to go see these big blockbusters, but aren't checking out the mid-range films quite as much. So it's a little bit of a double-edged sword. It's a little bit of a double-edged sword, which we've talked about a little bit, and I'm sure Robert and I will talk more about on the show in the days ahead. Nelson Mija writes, "Hey, John, longtime viewer. Thank you so much, Nelson. Wondering if you had a chance to see Blue Sky Studios' Spies in Disguise yet. It's currently holding a 79% on Rotten Tomatoes. Also, congratulations for hitting 100 million views. A true accomplishment that I'm glad you were able to achieve." No, this week has been bonkers nuts. Has been absolutely bonkers nuts this week. Between everything that I've been doing the last few days, Star Wars events, we've got our 100 million view event tonight. So I know a bunch of you were able to buy tickets before they sold out, and I'm looking forward to seeing you guys there at our big 100 million view event. So we've got that tonight as well. I got another screen of Star Wars today. I have not had a chance to see Spies in Disguise. Not yet. I'll be honest with you. Let me look it up here. I am not really looking forward to it. To me, the trailers didn't work. That doesn't mean I won't give it a chance. Of course I'll give it a chance, just trailers. But and as of right now, the rating has gone up from 79% to 80%. Now, granted, it's only got 25 reviews right now. So I have not had a chance to see it yet. I don't know that I'm going to go see it, but I might. I just might. I need to see another trailer that gives me a little bit more hope for it, because it didn't. But hey, it's got a pretty good critic rating, so who knows? Maybe I'll go out and give it a shot. All right, let's see here. Thanks for the recommendation, Nelson. Ryan Lohner writes, one more great Danny Aiello role, Madonna's father in the video for Papa Don't Preach. I totally forgot about that. Of course, last week saw the unfortunate, sad passing of the actor Danny Aiello, and but what a rich career. I'm not gonna lie to you, Ryan. I could have sat here for the next week listing off Danny Aiello appearances, and I never would have thought about appearing in Madonna's video for Papa Don't Preach as Madonna's father. I don't recollect that at all. So that's a deep cut there, Ryan. That's a deep cut. Mike C writes, just finished The Irishman after 3 attempts. Yeah, it's a long film. Fantastic film. Love the tragic father-daughter story amidst the enthralling political gangster epic, but damn, it was long. Maybe not too long, but I, for one, couldn't have seen it in theaters. And I'll tell you what, straight up, I think The Irishman is fantastic, and it was too long. So some people hear me say that I think The Irishman was too long. They go, "Oh, so you didn't like it?" No, I loved it. It's great. But it absolutely should have been a half hour shorter. And not only would it have not become less fantastic, I think it would have made the film even better. There's a lot of redundant stuff in that movie. And Martin Scorsese got very self-indulgent with that movie. And there's a lot of scenes in that movie that simply didn't need to be there, either because it was useless information, or it was useless, or it was information that was already given in other scenes in the movie. There's at least minimum a half hour of stuff you could have cut out of that movie. So, John, you didn't like it? No, I loved it. I think it's fantastic. I just think it would have been even better had it been cut down a bit, but that's just me. Anyway, I'm glad you liked it, Mike, and I'm glad you're able to get through it, even if it took you 3 attempts. All right, Joe Cool writes, with the Skywalker story now over and it not being clear what's coming next cinematically, how would you feel about Star Wars taking on different movie genres, like a straight horror or comedy? Dude, where's my Y-Wing? No. The Last Cantina on the Left. I can see, like, for instance, look at Rogue One. Rogue One was kind of more of it's a classic 1960s style war epic. When you really look at War One and break it down to its components, or Rogue One and break it down to its components, it in very many ways is a 1960s style war epic. So they've already started to toy with that. Straight up comedy, I don't know. I don't think so. By the way, I haven't heard anybody else talk about this, but take this and you can run with this as a scoop if you want. But last night on the red carpet, Kathleen Kennedy said something very, very interesting. And she said this: while this is the end of the Skywalker saga, that doesn't necessarily mean there won't be other stories with Skywalker. I'm like, oh. Now, that's something she said before the premiere started. She was on the red carpet and said, just because this is the end of the Skywalker saga, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's the last Skywalker story. I found that to be very fascinating. And what that means, who knows? We'll have to wait and see. But it could be interesting, could be nothing. We'll have to wait and see when we're talking about the future of Star Wars movies. All right. Jordan Smith writes, does it stick the landing? To me, no. But as you saw, some of the other pundits really did feel it stuck the landing. So you might go see this movie and you may totally feel that it sticks the landing. To me, unfortunately, it didn't. But I'm going to tell you this, though. If a movie isn't going to work for me, I would rather it not work because the director put it all on the table. Like the director was going for something big and tried for something really bold and did some audacious things and was really trying to swing for the fences. I would rather see a movie where a director tried to do that and it didn't quite work for me than a director just go half-assed and it didn't work for me. Full credit to J.J. Abrams. He swung for the fences. He really did. And I want my directors to be bold. And I want them to make out-of-the-box creative decisions. And I want them to do all that. And JJ did it. The end result was that it didn't quite work for me, and that's fine. I can still go up to JJ, tip my cap, and say, good for you, sir. You really swung for the fences. It didn't end up working for me, and I didn't enjoy it myself. But tip of the cap to you, sir, that you went big and you went bold and you tried something really out of the box. So I can be of both minds. And I'd rather walk out of the film having not liked it, but knowing at least the director gave his damnedest to try to deliver it. And it fell short for me. And oh well, I'll just look forward to the next Star Wars movie and I'll look forward to whatever J.J. Abrams does next. But yep, it is what it is for me. All right, Matsive Jada writes, more disappointing than the prequels? I'm not going to rank. I'm not going to rank right now. Right now, I've only saw it like 12 hours ago. I'm not in the mindset right now to give ranking or anything like that. So I got to think about that. All right, Humanity Never Learns writes, sounds like Jar Jar was behind it all. Surname Abrams. No, I wouldn't go that far. Humanity Never Learns. I won't go that far. JJ was behind it all. Galaxy's Edge writes, blink twice if you screamed into a pillow last night. No, I didn't. Listen, I'm not one of these guys that's like, I didn't like a Star Wars movie. I hate everybody. No. I'm not like that. I watched the movie. To me, they tried to give me a movie that I would love, and they fell short. Okay, they tried. They've tried on other movies, and I did like them. They tried on this one, and I didn't. Okay, no problem. We'll move on. But yeah, this was, but I did not end up screaming into my pillow last night. So no, that was not the case. Mountain Gherkin writes, with Cineworld buying Cineplex, why would they start a movie membership like they did at Regal when Cineplex is still a monopoly in Canada? For two different reasons, Mountain Gherkin. Number one, it is not always going to be a monopoly. And we have already seen that Landmark Theaters are starting to dig in their heels a little bit in the Canadian market, and they're expanding a little bit, so you got to keep that in mind. If you want to stay the big player in the game, you better make some innovations right now. The second thing is, movie memberships work. They get more people into the theaters. I've heard from so many people who have AMC A-List or Regal Unlimited that go, I go to way more movies now than I did before. That's why. And you know where movie theaters make their money? Popcorn. The more people you get into the theater, the more popcorn and M&Ms and soda and nachos you sell, and that's where theaters actually make their money. So yeah, there's still a good amount of incentive for both reasons for them to introduce that sort of thing, and believe me, they will. It may take a year, it may take a little bit longer, but believe me, Cineplex in Canada is about to get movie memberships. Moorman writes, I won't get to see episode 9 until Sunday. I'm getting into the freezer now. Wake me when it's time. Yeah, it's probably a good move, Moorman. And by the way, on Sunday, it's not going to be a big hate fest. But on Sunday, late afternoon or early evening, we will be doing our open spoiler Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker spoiler discussion. For those of you, that gives you guys plenty of time to go and see the movie, digest it, and then Sunday, late afternoon or evening, we'll do our big open spoiler discussion about the movie. All right, Superman Steve writes, were the visual effects better than any of the other Star Wars movies? Are you looking forward to watching again? Oh, I'll tell you what, the visual effects were some kind of spectacular. The visual effects were great. Full hats off to Isla. I told you guys I'm operating on like 3+ hours sleep. Full tip of the cap to the good folks at ILM. They really knocked. The visual effects are stunning. They really are. Beautifully executed, stunning visual effects. Superman Steve also writes, Jumanji The Next Level doesn't get released here in Australia until Boxing Day. Do you think that is going to make any difference to its opening numbers? I don't think so. I think if Jumanji The Next Level sucked, then I think it would having a later premiere in your territory would hurt the opening weekend numbers. But the movie doesn't suck. I don't think it's as good as the first one, but it's still quite enjoyable. So I don't think it'll hurt your opening weekend numbers. I don't think it'll hurt the opening weekend numbers where you live for it opening that late. Eduardo O'Neill writes, I love Star Wars, but I don't care much about Rebel/Empire conflict. I love it because of the Force and the Jedi-Sith conflict. All I want is more expansion on that lore and hopefully some amazing moments around them. Will this movie give you that? Let me think about that for just one quick second. All right. I'll say this. On exclusively the level of you're looking for great, you want it to be, there be a lot of focus on Jedi Sith on that level and on that level only. All right. I'm just trying to be very careful how I phrase this. I think you will be happy. That's all I'm going to say, but I'm completely limiting it to that very specific question that you're asking. Okay. On that level, I think you're going to be happy, but that's all I'm going to say. All right, Eduardo also follows up and writes, I see reactions online saying that it's the movie is trying to course correct from The Last Jedi. I don't like that idea at all. The movie was divisive, but it happened and should not be discarded story-wise, in my opinion. I like The Last Jedi, by the way. Again, I can't go into specifics on that, Eduardo, other than to say that I do not disagree with those pundits online who are saying there's a bunch of this movie that is basically trying to be a course correct of Last Jedi. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, and how they do that, I can't go into right now, clearly because a review embargo is in place. I will just say that those pundits who are writing that, I can totally see why they're writing that. So that's all I'll say on that for now. All right, The Real Boss Baby writes, I had the privilege to go to a month early screening of the film The Gentleman. I heard there were some early screenings of that, actually. I know a couple people that saw it already. And I must say it is an absolutely fun time at the movies. Should be top priority for all. Hugh Grant is a highlight with his comedic wit and making everything seem sexual. And listen, I'm a big fan of Guy Ritchie. And this film, I haven't seen it yet myself, but this film, The Gentleman, if you haven't seen the trailer for it, guys, you should go look it up. This film, The Gentleman, feels like him going back to his Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels and Snatch roots, which I love those movies, particularly Snatch. I love those movies. I still can't believe he just directed Aladdin. That's the craziest thing to me. I still cannot believe Guy Ritchie directed Aladdin. Anyway, I'm hearing good things about it as well, and I'm very, very excited to see this movie, man. So thank you so much for the recommendation. Makes me excited. All right. John Campea's Clone writes, my top 10 films of all time. 10, just before I go. 9, Aladdin, the 2019. By the way, I really like the new Aladdin. I really, really do. Anyway, number 8, Scream. Number 7, Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. I love that movie. Number 6, Get Out. Number 5, Sorry to Bother You. Ooh, I hated that movie. I really like Get Out, but I hated Sorry to Bother You. Number 4, Ant-Man. 3, Waterboy. 2, Searching. Searching's a great, pleasant surprise. Number 1, Click, most underrated movie of all time. You know, Click's an interesting film. I don't like Click. It's an Adam Sandler movie where it tried to be two different movies at once. And when it was trying to be one thing, it was working. When it was trying to be the other thing, it didn't work. So I don't know. I'm very conflicted on Click myself, but that's a very diverse list. I like it when people send in their top 10 favorites and it's really diverse. It's not just all the same. Like, favorite movie number 10, a Marvel movie. Favorite movie number 8, a DC movie. Then another Marvel, then another Marvel, then another DC, then another Marvel, then another DC, then another Marvel, then another. Like, I love seeing really good, diverse top 10 lists. So thank you for sending that in, man. All right, Taylor Garian writes, DSLS, I don't know what that is, just finished Bloodlines and, Dark Side Light Side. Oh, this is for Dark Side Light Side. But you know what? It's kind of mixed in, so I'm just going to answer it right here because I don't want to risk missing it on Dark Side Light Side later, which, by the way, guys, there may not be a Dark Side Light Side later today. There might not be a Dark Side Light Side later today. My day is just so packed. Again, I got another screening of Star Wars today. I've got my 100 million view event tonight. I haven't 100% made up my mind yet, and I will talk to Christian about it, but there might not be a Dark Side Light Side. So let me answer your question right now. Just finished Bloodlines and Lost Stars as my first dive into the Star Wars novels and love them. I love both of those books, man. More Lost Stars, but you got to get on Dark Lords of the Sith. You got to get on. That is my favorite Star Wars book right now. I've heard some mixed opinions and wanted to know your opinion on the Aftermath trilogy. Is it worth reading? Thanks, and may the Force be with you. It depends on who you ask. I don't like the Aftermath books personally. Christian Harloff, on the other hand, he doesn't really like the first Aftermath books, but he likes the other ones. So it really all depends. So if Christian were here, he would be saying, yes, get into the Aftermath books. Myself, I think you can take a pass, but it really all depends. And you're right, man. You're going to get mixed opinions on that. You are going to get mixed opinions. But dude, I wholeheartedly encourage you to get Dark Lords of the Sith. That book rocks. I would also highly recommend the Tarkin novel. Tarkin is great. I love that one too. So yeah, there's just a couple for you more to get yourself into. Blake writes, it seems a lot of issues people had with episode 9 were with fan service, which makes me want to see it more, honestly. This is closing a 40-year saga. Give me fan service. Give me crowd pleasing. Give me all that. Here's the thing. Fan service is neither a bad nor a good thing. Because let's look at Endgame. There's a bunch of fan service in Endgame that was just handled right, and it came across as being great, right? There are other movies that have fan service that it's just fan service for the sake of fan service, and it makes the movie worse. There is a bunch of fan service in Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. Some of it works, some of it doesn't. And it'll be up to you to decide whether it worked for you or not. But I'm of the opinion that fan service is inherently neither a good nor a bad thing. It all depends on how it's handled. You can have movies that handle it great and it works. You can have movies that don't handle it so great and make it just kind of, I don't know, it just makes it feel like an obligatory nod, and that just makes the movie worse to me. So it all depends on how it's executed. You'll have to wait and see for yourself if it works for you. All right. John Campea is my girl's hall pass writes, hey, John and everybody. Been watching for a couple of years now. Thank you so much. Just wanted to thank you for all the great content you put out daily. All of you are awesome. Please don't stop doing this ever. Love listening to you guys. Thanks. Oh, thank you so much, dude. I appreciate that. And listen, it's always really nice when people want to support the channel and send in something just to say something nice and supportive. So honestly, seriously, thank you for that. It always makes me feel, you have no idea. It really does. It really does make me feel good. So thank you so much for sending that in, man. And thank you for being part of our little film fan community. All right. JC is my girlfriend's hall pass also writes in, while discussing possible actors for Face Off 2, a couple of topics later, Rob mentioned wanting to see Tom Hanks and Jeff Goldblum in a movie together. I think they would be an interesting pair for Face Off, or Ryan Reynolds and Keanu Reeves. Thoughts? I don't know. See, my favorite, and again, this is just a goofy, stupid topic. Like, I'm not doing X actor in Y role thing. This is just a goofy, stupid topic. I don't know about that. I totally want to see if they were going to do it, just because of all the off-camera stuff. Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman. That's my pick for Face Off 2. When you see the way these two guys go at each other online, and it's all in fun, But I desperately would love to see, in my stupid silliness, I would love to see Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman. That would be my thing. But again, you know me, I don't do the X actor and Y thing. But if we're just talking stupid fantasy, little dumb stuff, that's something I would do. That's something I would totally be down for, JC. All right, Toonie2 writes, too bad that you didn't like The Rise of Skywalker, but you also dislike Blade Runner and you love Deadpool. So I see a really high chance that I will like this movie. Here's the thing though, Toonie2, and I know you're just being silly, but honestly, I will never understand this idiotic thing that people do. And I know you're just joking, but I'll never understand this idiotic thing. Well, John, there was a movie in 2004, 15 years ago, that you really didn't like and I did. Therefore, you don't like the movies I like. It's like, oh my God. I literally talk about 1,000 movies every year. And we can agree, I'm not saying we do, I'm not saying we should, but we could agree on 998 of them. But oh my God, if there's one movie that I like or dislike, that somebody out there likes or dislike in the opposite of me, then that's it.
But John, in 1994, you said that this movie was a bad movie. And I love that movie. I'm never going to listen to you again.
It's crazy. It's absolutely nuts. But hey, yeah, it is what it is. JC is my girlfriend's hall pass writes, you have the absolute best audio of any discussion show I've seen or heard on YouTube. Please teach the world your tricks. There are other shows I'd like to watch, but the audio is unbearable at times. What about when I talk like this? Is the audio still good when I do that? Probably not. I'd like to watch, but the audio is unbearable at times. Please never change what you're doing. You know, it is the most important thing. And whenever I'm at conventions and I'm teaching, I do panels on this stuff or whatever, I always tell people there's a saying that goes around that audio is the most important part of your video. That's not BS. It's absolutely true. And I put a lot of my energy and resources into giving the best audio that I can. I don't always deliver the best audio, but I always try. That's where, like, I put more effort into my video than I do, or into my audio of my YouTube videos than I do for the video. And listen, I got a great camera, and I think visually my videos look really good. I think I got a great crisp camera. I know how to light things, blah, blah, blah. But audio, for any of you inspiring YouTubers, if you've got $100 to put into your YouTube setup, most of that $100 should go towards your audio. And one of these days, I'm going to put out a full video on doing an audio setup and doing video setup and all that kind of stuff. But I actually take great pride that you would point out the audio of the show. So thank you very much. I appreciate that very, very much. Okay. Joey Canuck writes, so the Star Wars premiere was yesterday, and I couldn't help notice neither Rian Johnson or George Lucas were in attendance. I understand Ryan not wanting to make the conversation about his movie, but I think this is the first one George missed. Thoughts? I do think it's the first one George missed, but we honestly have no idea why he wasn't there. I mean, we just don't. I know everybody's going to speculate and say, oh, it's because of this. There are a million reasons George may not have been there. By the way, the whole, like, once everybody was in the theater and they started the big presentation, like Bob Iger came on stage, Kathy Kennedy, J.J. Abrams, they brought the cast out on stage, they brought John Williams out on stage, they did all this kind of stuff. It was nothing but a big George Lucas love fest. That's all everybody who talked last night at the event talked about George Lucas from the stage. Particularly Bob Iger. Well, yeah, the big three, Bob Iger, Kathleen Kennedy, J.J. Abrams. It was all George Lucas this, George Lucas that. Oh, we worship George Lucas. George Lucas is the greatest thing ever of all time, forever and ever. Amen. It was just a huge George Lucas love fest last night. That's literally all they talked about. And then they went on and talked about the movie. But honestly, all the three of the big ones, J.J., Iger, Kennedy, they just all gushed about George Lucas. You know, Kathy Kennedy talks about her relationship with George and, you know, how they work together and blah, blah, blah. And JJ talks about, oh, he owes his entire childhood to George Lucas and he never would have been there if it wasn't for George's. Bob Iger talks about what an incredible resource George has been and he still communicates with George. And everything was George. And that's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. I'm just saying, Yeah, there was a lot of George Lucas love going on last night, but for he wasn't there for whatever reason, and I don't know what it is. You don't see George out at a lot of public functions, so everybody can speculate, and everybody's going to make up their own excuses that support their individual bias, whatever their bias is. Everybody's going to come up with the thing that supports their bias, but he wasn't there. He wasn't there. David Tapia writes. Now that you have seen Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker, what are your box office predictions for opening weekend and the final first run box office numbers? For example, does a $250 million opening and a final gross of $1.5 billion look highly possible? I've said for a while I don't think it's cracking $200 million. I've said that for a while. I really do believe the early tracking are, I think, 150 to 160. That's just a guess. I'm not going to put any money on it. I'm going to guess in that neighborhood, plus or minus 30 million. I think it's going to be in that neighborhood. And I'm still only willing to say what I've been saying for a long time. I believe this movie will do over $1 billion, but not reach $2 billion. So yeah, I don't know. A lot will have to do with word of mouth and everything about how much over $1 billion it goes, but I'm still predicting over $1 billion, under 2. I know that's still a pretty wide window, but honestly, it really depends on how a lot of other people react to it. That's going to be the big thing. It'll still depend a lot on the big fan word of mouth, so we'll see how that goes. Nate Dogg writes, was that David? It was. Nate Dogg writes, I'm living in Vietnam, and Star Wars Rise of the Skywalker isn't getting released here until January 3rd. Who decides when a movie is released, the studio or the country, and how do they make that decision? I'm super bummed right now. The people who make the decision as to when a movie releases in a particular market is the distribution company. The distribution company, not the production company. The distribution company makes all decisions about where and when a movie will be distributed. So to them, they must have a reason, and there's always a reason, there's a strategy behind when certain movies open in certain markets. Maybe they feel like, oh, this movie in this country will open better on this weekend because of something culturally that's going on. Or we feel like, hey, we can get to these markets a few weeks later because we think there's going to be positive word of mouth that will roll into that week, and then we can open it there. I mean, there's a million different reasons as to why a distribution company, and by the way, sometimes the distribution company and the production company are one and the same company, right? So Disney has two different branches. They have their production company branch, which is Lucasfilm, and then they have their Disney Motion Pictures distribution arm, which does the distribution of the Star Wars films. So Lucasfilm doesn't decide when it opens in certain territories. It's the distribution side of it that does. Then a lot of production companies don't have their own their own distribution arms, so they work with distributors, and the distributor is the one that decides. And every territory has a strategic reason why it is. There's not one answer as to why does this open in Trinidad, Tobago on this date, and it opens on this date in Germany. Every single time there's a unique answer to that unfortunately only the distributors can answer. But anyway, I hope you get to see it soon, man. I hope January 3rd. Listen, it's already, December 17th? It's soon, man. It's soon. It's not like you have to wait 3 or 4 months like some countries have to wait for certain movies. So at least you only have a few weeks to wait. All right. O+98 writes, if the Harley Quinn movie gets negative reception, can Hamada and WB survive this? Absolutely. Absolutely. One movie, listen, they are on a winning streak right now. Aquaman was a really solid film, made $1 billion. Shazam was fan-frickin-tastic. I cannot tell you how much I love that movie. Joker is going to be an Academy Award nominated film, and it made $1 billion. And then they got Wonder Woman 1984. 3 out of 4, 4 out of 5. Oh yeah, that's not a problem. Seriously, if the Harley Quinn movie sucks, it's a bump in the road. It's a bump in the road. That's all it is. Now, if the last 3 films that DC and Hamada had all put out were awful failures, then another failure in a Harley Quinn, by the way, that movie might be great, but if it was a failure, a 4th failure in a row, yeah, that could cause problems. But even if it's terrible, they're coming off of 3 big wins. 3 big wins in a row to me. And they've probably got a 4th win coming in Wonder Woman. So no, even if Harley Quinn, Birds of Prey and the Fabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn, even if that movie sucks and is terrible and it flops and all that kind of stuff, it's honestly a bump in the road for them right now. They hope it's good and they hope it works. But if it doesn't, they'll be fine. They'll be fine for now. All right, Winnie the Pooh writes, awkward, people can see the tweet replies you hide. Yeah, I mean, that's how Twitter works. It's not really awkward. That's how Twitter works. I don't know why you're acting like that's a surprise. Casey Thurman just sends in a super chat to be supportive. Thank you, Casey. MDids1980 writes, hey, John, sorry about the disappointment. I feel your sadness. I'm not crying myself to sleep. It's a movie. I didn't like it. Movies are subjective. I'm disappointed, yes, but we move on. I'm still a big Star Wars fan. I'll still look forward to the next Star Wars thing. This just happened to be one that didn't work for me. So I'm not gutted and destroyed over this. Does it feel like they just disregarded the legacy of the Skywalkers and could care less? No. I listen, I can agree or disagree with whatever they want to do and whatever decisions they want to make and all that kind of stuff. I can agree or disagree, and that's fine. But here's the thing. A lot of the times people make decisions about, like, I didn't like it, therefore you just disregarded the thing I like. No, I think they can try for something and work, or they can try for something and fail. So no, I do not feel they just disregarded the legacy of Skywalker and could care less. That's normally somebody going, I didn't like what you did, therefore you disregarded the legacy of Skywalker. No, it just means that maybe they wanted to honor it a way that was different than the way you would have honored it, but they were still trying to honor it. And then it either works or it doesn't. So no, I don't feel like they just disregarded the legacy of Skywalker, not at all. Ron Hall writes, hey, John, you seem very excited. I'm guessing not only did you like it, you loved it. Well, no, I didn't. But listen, I love going to the movies, man. I love going to the movies. And it's even when it's a movie I don't like, I have a good time at the movies. And I can come out going, wow, that movie sucked, or that movie was great, or I was a little bit disappointed with it, or I kind of liked it, or whatever my reaction is. I still love going to the movies. And these premiere events are a lot of fun. But, you know, I've been to premieres that some people go, well, if you go to premiere, you're always going to say you like it. No, there have been a number of premieres I go to that I come out saying I don't like. And this is one of them. But oh well, I'll still look forward to the next one, and there you go. Big Scope 76 writes, I'm sorry you didn't like the movie. I usually have the same taste as you. Going on Friday. Hope I like it. Hope better than the prequels at least. And listen, again, let me reemphasize. Just because I didn't like it doesn't mean you're not going to like it. And just because I didn't completely 100% hate it doesn't mean you're not going to completely 100% hate it. Maybe you will. I don't know. But yeah, we're going to agree on some movies. We're going to disagree on some movies. Important thing is you go and you have your experience with it. And hopefully your experience will be a more positive one than unfortunately mine was. Cinema Reviews right. Pablo Hidalgo is a criffing liar. I don't know about that. I don't know. I like Pablo Hidalgo. And a Caden Stab, I don't know what we're talking about. Caden Stab writes, morning, Filthy. Hope your second viewing is better. Me too. My second viewing begins in 1 hour and 45 minutes. So I'm going to go down. I'm going to go down to Hollywood, go see it again at 10 o'clock this morning. It is now 8:18 in the morning here in Los Angeles. So I'm going to see it, and hopefully I have a little bit of a better experience with it the second time around. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. We'll see. Let's see. Jacob Silvers writes, did you see the new Onward trailer? I did not. I'm guessing it's probably footage that I saw at D23, because they showed us a lot of stuff at D23. So I'm guessing the new trailer is probably some of that, but I haven't seen it yet. Again, I'm operating on like a little over 3 hours sleep. I got up, came right in here, rolled out of bed. Literally, I rolled out of bed, walked in my office here, and started the show. So no, I haven't seen the new trailer yet, but I'm sure we'll talk about it tomorrow on the John Campea Show. Midnight Madman writes, Snyder Cut, an imaginary version of a film so powerful that a single flaw within is non-existent. Now, where's my Colin Trevorrow cut of Rise of Skywalker? And by the way, let's be very, very clear. There are apples in the bag. There's just not watermelons in the bag. Zack Snyder does have an edit of the film. It is not a completed film in the fact that not all the visual effects are done, not all the music scoring's done, not all the color correction, ADR, Foley, all the mountains and mountains of post-production, the tens of millions of dollars worth of post-production that needs to be done. That's not done. But he's got a completed cut of the film. He has a completed edit of the film. It's just that it's not a totally completed film. So one thing exists, one thing doesn't. That's why we've been saying for years, there are apples in the bag, an edit, but there's not a watermelon in a bag, a 100% completed film that's ready to be released tomorrow. That doesn't exist. But there is an edit. There is an edit. I mean, other people have seen the edit. Jason Momoa has seen the edit. He's seen the cut. So there's that. Anyway, Joshua Liming writes, without giving details, how did you feel JJ did as a director, and can you speak about the musical score for the film? The music is awesome. Anne said walking out, this is the first thing Anne said walking out, John Williams scored the shit out of that movie. He did. The music is absolutely a highlight of the movie for me. This was John Williams in great John Williams form. I really thought the music was spectacular. I haven't always thought the music was always spectacular for all the Star Wars movies, but the music is definitely one of the highlights of this movie for me. Even when there were scenes going on that I really didn't like, the music in them was like, wow, the score in this is great, though. It's really, really good. And again, with JJ, I'm trying to separate whether I like the movie from whether I like what he did as a director. And it's hard to separate that. Again, all I'll say is, while I was disappointed in the film and I didn't like it, JJ did the things I want a director to do. He was bold. He tried to swing for the fences. He did all the things I want a bold, visionary director to try to do. And he did. The end result was it didn't work for me, but it's going to work for some other people, so it's hard to say there. But yeah, Joshua, I love the score. I really did. Stephen Stanley writes, do you think your thoughts on Rise of Skywalker will change after multiple viewings? I remember you saying that you felt more positive about The Force Awakens the more you saw it. Yeah, but I mean, that's fractional improvement, right? Like when I saw The Force Awakens, I really liked it. I really, really enjoyed myself, and I really enjoyed that movie. And every time I've seen it since, I've liked it a little bit more, but that's fractional. You know, it's not like I went from loving the movie on one day and then hating it the next day. You know, I can only think of a couple times in my life where that's happened. It happened with like the prequels, where I went in the prequels like, oh yeah, I loved it because it's Star Wars. I just loved it. I loved it. But then the more I watched it, I'm like, no, I really don't like these movies at all. And it happened with me with Quentin Tarantino's Inglourious Bastards. I hated Inglourious Bastards the first time I watched it. And then I watched it the second time, like, wait a minute, wait, time out. Why did I not like this movie before? Was I having a bad day? Was I constipated? Was I sitting beside somebody with bad breath? What's going on here? And I loved it. But those, seriously, in my 30 plus years of being a film fan, those are the only two examples I can really think of. So I'm hoping that my second experience will be fractionally better, but it's not going to go. Out of the tens of thousands of movies I've seen, I can only really pull up Star Wars prequels and Inglourious Bastards, where I went from liking or disliking it to doing the complete opposite of it. So I'm not going to go from disliking this movie to liking it, but hopefully I'll dislike it a little bit less. Hopefully. I don't know. We'll see. I'm going to go see it a second time today. I'm going to go see it for a third time tomorrow. And so by the end of tomorrow, I will have seen this damn movie 3 times. So here's hoping my experience improves a little bit. But again, while it has happened, it's been like 1 out of every 5,000 films that I see that I switch my views on the movie. It happens, but very, very rarely, unfortunately. All right. Janoka Boa, Ashoka Tano. I'm not going to answer that. I mean, that's I can't answer that. That would be a spoiler. I'm not going to do that. Nira Toivan? Dude, I'm totally butchering your name. My apologies for that. What are your current rank of the current Star Wars trilogy? First super chatter. Oh, well, thank you so much, man. What is my current rank of the current Star Wars trilogy? Well, of the current ones, considering the Rise of Skywalker hasn't come out yet officially, my current rank 1 and 2 is The Force Awakens, which I love, and The Last Jedi, second. That's how I rank them right now, currently. Where I have a feeling it's going to be, again, I only saw the movie about 12 hours ago, so I have a feeling it's going to be The Force Awakens, JJ's first Star Wars film, which I absolutely love. The Last Jedi, which I quite like. I have some issues with it, but I quite like it. And then probably The Rise of Skywalker in third. But that'll be different. Everybody's going to have a different experience with these movies, so everybody's going to have a different list. Mine's not necessarily right or wrong. All right. Troy Taylor writes, love your show, John. Did you like Finn in Rise of Skywalker? I'll say this. Yeah, I liked Finn more in Rise of Skywalker than I did in The Last Jedi. One of the real swing and misses in The Last Jedi for me was the use of Finn. I much preferred Finn in this movie than I did in The Last Jedi. Yeah, that's a really good question. Thank you for asking that. But yeah, I think the Finn character in this movie is a big step up from the Finn character in The Last Jedi. I might overall prefer The Last Jedi as a movie, but that's one of the elements that I thought they did better in this movie. All right, Santez Henderson writes, the feedback from The Rise of Skywalker is all over the place. I can't wait until I see it myself. No one's reaction will change my excitement one way or the other. And that's the way it should be. That's the way it should be. You want to go in a little bit informed. You want to know what to expect a little bit, but still go in as you. Leave all that at the door, then judge the movie on its own merits and how it affects you. That's the most important thing. And hopefully, Santez, fingers crossed, you have a better experience than I did. That's what I'm hoping for. You know, there are some people who don't like a movie. It's like, I hope everybody hates this movie. Not me. Not me. I don't like a movie. Well, I hope everybody else does. I hope you all have a good time. And I hope you enjoy it. And I hope you all like it more than me. Some of you won't like it. Some of you will. But I'm going to hope that all of you like it. That's my hope. So keep your fingers crossed, Santez. And I'll keep my fingers crossed for you, buddy. All right. Owen Wright writes, hey, John, I just wanted your opinion on why you think in the UK cinema-going experience isn't really treated with the same respect as it is in the US. I live in Aberdeen, which is pretty well off area, but the closest IMAX screen is roughly 3 hours away. Well, honestly, Owen, I can't speak to that, unfortunately, because I've never been to the UK, which is really sad. I should go visit. I've been meaning to visit London for years. Anyway, but I've never been to the UK, let alone gone to a movie theater in the UK. So I really can't speak to that. And I don't know where it is you live. You know, I don't know the area in which you live. I'm sure there are some areas in Canada and the US that maybe the closest IMAX screen is a ways away. It depends on population density and all that kind of stuff. So unfortunately, Owen, I think that's a great question you're asking. But it's like asking me, John, what's your opinion on the fracture I have in my tibia? Oh, dude, I'm the wrong guy to ask. I have no idea. I don't know. I don't know anything about the tibia. I'm not a doctor. I've never been to the UK. I've never been to a theater there, so I don't really know the movie-going culture as well. But it could just be, and I'm totally speaking out of my ass here, it could just be a matter of population density. But again, I don't know, so I'm the wrong guy to ask. The best thing to do is, for the rest of you guys who maybe are viewers from the UK, how would you answer Owen's question? Jump in there and help him out there a little bit. All right. Okay, let's keep things moving here. And the next one, where'd we go? The Balance writes, John, what are you looking for in your second viewing of The Rise of Skywalker today? More details, storyline clarification. You think your opinion will evolve one way or another? Appreciate your channel. What I'm hoping for is that, and I'm not going to go into the details here because I can't. The review embargo is still in place. But what I'm hoping for is that the parts that I liked in the movie, and there are some big highlight moments in this. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you this. There's a moment, and we'll talk about this more openly on Sunday when we do the spoiler review. There is a moment near the end of this film that I wanted to jump out of my chair and cheer. There is a moment at the end of this movie, and I won't even remotely suggest what that moment is. But there is a moment near the end of this movie that made me want to jump up in my chair and scream and cheer. So it has this moment. So I want to appreciate the moments that I know I liked a little bit more. And I'm hoping that all the parts that I didn't like, I'm hoping I'm going to pick up on some new things in this movie that maybe I didn't pick up on the first viewing that might mitigate the stuff that I didn't like quite as much. It's doubtful. But again, it'll be a fractional difference whether I like it a little bit more or a little bit less. It'll be fractional. But I'm hoping it'll be the fractional and the positive. So that's what I'm keeping my fingers crossed for at any rate. I doubt it will, but that's what I'm going to keep my fingers crossed for. All right, Jonica Boa writes, Did you enjoy Ahsoka Tano? JJ said she was in the movie. Don't want to know how. All I want to know is, was it good? Let's be very, 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 very clear here. Despite the BS headlines, JJ never said Ahsoka Tano was in this movie. Now, I'm not going to talk about whether she is or isn't, but it's total BS that he said there was a conversation, he made a joke, but people started running around saying, J.J. Abrams said Ahsoka Tano's in the movie. No, he did not. Go back and read what he said more specifically. He didn't say that. So I'm not going to comment on whether or not that character, which I don't like that character. I'm not going to refer or make a comment on whether or not that character is in the movie. I can't make that comment at this point, review embargo and all. But what I will say is just be very, very clear here. JJ never said she was in the movie. Be very, very clear about that. Semantics matter. His wording matters. He did not say she was in this movie. So I'm just going to leave it at that. All right. Suthius writes, so The Rise of Skywalker should have ended one trilogy. So The Rise of Skywalker should have ended one trilogy instead of three. Here's the thing. Whenever a movie doesn't work, people look for a one simple answer to answer everything. Oh, it should have done this. And it's more nuanced than that. It's way more nuanced than that. So I can't go into any details. I can't expound on why I'm thinking what I'm thinking about it because, again, review embargo. All I'll say is I'm not going to necessarily agree with that statement. I know that's a little bit of a cop-out right now, Suthius. I get it, but that's the most I can say is that right now I do not agree with the sentiments of the statement. So we'll go into more detail on Sundays with the spoiler review. All right. Sentez Henderson writes, also, I wish people see how much of a rarity Star Wars is, even in this day and age of constant content. We are lucky to have gotten more of it, good or bad. Let's cherish the new memories, good or not. And listen, I just love that. Look, there's a lot of the new Star Wars that I really like. Some more than others. I just came out of one that I didn't like. Okay, that's fine. I didn't like it. That's fine. I'm still a huge Star Wars fan. I'm still going to look forward to the next thing that they do, and I'm still going to keep my fingers crossed and hope that everybody else likes it. I didn't, and that's okay. There's others that they've done that I did love. This one, not so much. Okay. C'est la vie. We move on, and we go on to the next movie. So here's hoping that's the experience here. But you're right. I mean, we should never take for granted that we got these movies, man. We should never take for granted that we got these movies. And I think for a film fan like me, it's been a great blessing. Not this movie so much, but overall. All right. Thanks for those sentiments, Santos. I think those are some wise words there. All right. Next up, Ben Rayner writes, is there a dark side, light side today? Maybe. I'm not 100% sure yet, to be honest with you. My day is so cluster effed right now. Between getting up after just a few hours sleep, doing this show, got to go down into Hollywood, watch the movie again, and then I've got the 100 million view event later that I still have some things I need to do to get ready for. So we may still do it. We may still do Dark Side, Light Side today. Follow me on Twitter or keep your eye on your YouTube feed because maybe I'll put up a post in YouTube to let everybody know. So there is a chance we may not do a Dark Side, Light Side today. There is a chance. But I will let you guys know as we get closer. I wish I could be more clear of it right now, but honestly right now, guys, I'm having a hard time remembering what my middle name is. Like I'm so in the clouds right now. I'm so loopy right now. Please cut me a little bit of your patience. I need your patience today because I'm going to do the best that I can, Ben. I will do the best that I can. All right. Fernman68 writes, you might have answered this, but what do you think about Lucas not being at the premiere? Yeah, again, there have been lots of times when lots of people don't show up to premieres, and there are a million different reasons why. Again, it was a big George Lucas love fest last night from the stage, so we'll see. Zach Woodwatch, please watch Claws on Netflix. Everybody's telling me to watch this movie, man. Anne was even saying she wants to watch it. I am going to watch it. I'm definitely going to watch it because I'm hearing nothing but good things about it. So I will watch it here. Maybe not this week, but I'm going to watch it. I will watch it. All right, David writes, what emotions did you feel right when the end credits rolled on The Rise of Skywalker? Thanks. And I hope it grows on you, but I haven't seen it, so maybe I'll think it sucks too. By the way, I'm not saying that I think it sucks. There's certainly elements of it that I think sucked, but I just, it didn't work for me. Did not work for me. I didn't like the movie. There it is. What did I feel when the end credits rolled? That's a fair question, David, and it's a good question. I don't know that I've got an answer for it. I'm looking back on it right now, and I'm not quite sure how I felt. Let me think about that a little bit more. And thank you for bringing that up, because I think when I watch it again in an hour and a half, I'm going to sit there when the end credits start to roll, and I'm going to pay a little closer attention to what am I feeling right now? Because that's a really good question, and I'm not quite sure. I mean, clearly, whatever I felt, positive or negative, wasn't so profound, positive or negative, that it stuck with me. So I don't know. Maybe I was already just smelling the food from the after party, and I was just thinking about getting out to the after party. I'm not sure. I'll pay closer attention to that today, David. Thank you for asking that. Ryder writes, I would still love to see Sebastian Stan as Luke. I don't see why, because he looks like him a little bit. I don't know. I like Sebastian Stan as an actor too, though. Bobby Stevens writes, hey, John, love the show. Thank you so much, Bobby. Do you think we'll ever get to a point where there is a at-home service where I can pay full ticket price but stream the movie to my TV or something close? I see Star Wars Thursday night. I'm excited. I mean, and by the way, thank you for sending in such a generous super chat and supporting the channel on that level, Bobby. They tried to get something like that going. Here's the problem. The movie theaters will not let studios do that right now, because the movie theaters are going to be like, oh, if you're just going to put this thing, if you're going to hurt our business by just putting these movies available at home, then we're not going to put your movies on our screen, right? That's the way a business relationship works. If you're going to try to screw us this way, then we're not going to put your movie on our screen. And the studios still know that the vast, vast, vast majority of the money that they make on their movies happens in the movie theaters. So they're not going to piss off. But could it happen? Maybe. But here's the thing. You're not going to be able to get it at home on opening weekend for just the price of one movie ticket. Like when they were testing this a few years ago, they tested a service a few years ago where they have this digital player where they let you watch a movie at home on the same week that it opened in theaters, like real movies, not straight to video stuff, not straight to streaming, real movies. But they charge you like $70 for it because they know it's not just you. They know it's you and the 8 people you have over to your house that night too. So I don't know. We could get there, but it's going to be an interesting ride to see how we get there. It's going to be an interesting ride to see how we get there. Anyway, that's just my thoughts on that. And I hope you have a great time on Thursday night, Bobby, with your screening. I hope you have a tremendously good time. I just hope your experience was better than mine. So fingers crossed, buddy. Fingers crossed. All right. Jamie Bros 1 writes, John, does bringing Palpatine back ruin Anakin's arc in Return of the Jedi, or do they do it justice? I've addressed this like many times. It does not ruin Anakin's arc at all. Not at all. Anakin was said to bring balance to the Force, and he did. Anakin Skywalker ended the rule of the Empire. He threw down the Emperor, saved Luke's life, ended the governing of darkness over the galaxy, brought in an era of decades of peace with a new Republic rule and all that kind of stuff. It didn't stay that way forever and ever, amen. It didn't stay that way forever. But, he did what he did. He did what he did. And it doesn't change, and it doesn't undermine that at all. So no, I never felt for one second that what was happening in this movie undermines what Anakin did there. It doesn't, because it doesn't change what happened. The Empire for decades had ruled the galaxy with an iron dark fist, oppressing and brutalizing and committing genocide and all that kind of stuff. And Anakin Skywalker, Darth Vader, ended that. Broke the rule of the Empire, all that kind of stuff, and it began and ushered in an era of decades of peace and justice in the galaxy. And none of that is undone. None of that is undone. So anyway, that's my view on that. All right. Tillin Zarast writes, have they destroyed Anakin's story? No, I just kind of went into that. Clever to Swear writes, I effing hate Pikeys. I love Snatch so much. Pikeys. If you haven't seen Snatch, you'll have no idea what Clever to Swear is saying. But oh my God, that movie's so great. And that line is so great. Brad Pitt in that movie. Caesar Leon just sends in a super chat to be supportive. Thank you for that, Caesar. Appreciate that. Crashing Coyote writes, what was better, Suicide Squad or Rise of Skywalker? I just got out of the movie 12 hours ago, man. I'm not at a point right now that I'm ready to do rankings and what's better than this and all that kind of stuff. I'm not interested in doing that, and I'm not even in a place that I can do that right now. All I can do is give you my general impressions of the movie. In some ways, it's better than a Suicide Squad. In some ways, it's worse. I mean, every movie is unique, and our experiences with each movie is unique. So I'm not in a place that I'm ready to give any kind of a ranking yet. ZMG Ruler writes, The Rise of Skywalker ends your last of the three is the best streak? Yes. Yeah, because of the other two trilogies, the final film was always the best of the trilogy to me. I thought Return of the Jedi was the best of the original trilogy. I thought Revenge of the Sith was the best of the prequel trilogy, which isn't saying much, but I thought it was the best. But yeah, to me, and look, there are going to be some people that feel that The Rise of Skywalker is the best of this new trilogy, and that's great. It's just not going to be me. So yes, for me, that does end the streak, unfortunately. John Pluskoda writes, did you enjoy Leia's scenes? Did she receive more or less screen time than you thought? Thank you for writing that in, John. And by the way, it's a $50 super chat. I've got like 5 or 6 I got to get caught up on here. So I'm going to answer your question. Thank you for that, by the way, John. I'm going to answer that question in its own video. So, but before I answer it in its own video, let me say this. She got more screen time than I was anticipating. How well did it work? The idea of taking old unused footage of her from Star Wars Episode 7 that they didn't use and just putting it into The Rise of Skywalker. I'm not sure it was a good idea. I'm not sure it worked. It was great seeing Carrie Fisher on screen, make no mistake about it. But I'm not sure it worked. I kind of feel they should have either recast Leia or just not had Leia in the movie at all. I think they should have recast. I honestly do. I think they should. I think it would have worked a lot better if they had recast Leia and paid honor to Carrie Fisher in doing so. But I will say she's in it more than I thought she was going to be, for sure. Anyway, I'll get onto that more in depth, John, when I get around to doing a video of yours just based on your one question. So keep your eyes open for that in the coming days. All right, Tillin Zarst writes, love your channel. Thank you so much, Tillin. I appreciate that, man. It's always nice when people just want to write in something supportive and being nice. Let's see here. Ruben Garcia. Last couple of questions, guys, then I got to get in the shower and get ready to go. Ruben Garcia writes, hey, John, I watch your show almost every day and listen on my way to work. Thank you so much for that, Ruben, but I appreciate that. After hearing about it so many times from people in the super chats, I finally got around to watching The Last Starfighter. Nice. Man, it was excellent. It was like Galaga come to life. Dude, Ruben, first of all, good man. Good man for watching Last Starfighter. That movie is fabulous. It's dated. Oh my God, it's so dated, but it's so great. And it's one of the movies that I am dying for somebody to reboot. I'm dying for a remake of that movie. If any of you guys have not seen The Last Starfighter, it's like a movie that was ahead of its time. It would totally, the concept of The Last Starfighter, a video game that was actually designed by an alien race to test to see who out in the galaxy would be a great pilot using their pilot, simulator, their fighter pilot simulator video game to see who would be the great pilots in the galaxy. Come on, that's a concept that would work today so easily. You've got to see this movie. If you haven't seen it, take Ruben's advice, see The Last Starfighter, and I'm glad you watched it, man. It's such a good time. All right, Daniel Hinoja writes, better original plus flawed or safe plus effective film? It all depends on the original. There's no one answer to that. There's no one answer to that. It's like saying, what's better, an original film or a remake film? Depends on the film. Depends on the film. You can play a very safe movie, but have it be very effective and very enjoyable. Or you can have an original film and it's flawed. All that matters is the end result. So if one ends being really good and entertaining, then whether that was the original or a remake, then it's the better film. That's all that matters. So whatever the end result is what dictates. Original but flawed, well, I'll take safe and effective over that. Safe but flawed, well, I'll take original and effective over that. It's all about what is the end result, not what is the starting formula. It's about what's the end result. That's what matters to me the most, Daniel. So that's just me at any rate. Unknown writes, you say you didn't like the movie, but in what regard? Well, I can't go into that. There's a review embargo. Do you not like it as a Star Wars movie or just an overall movie? Love the show. Well, I mean, I think that's a false distinction, Unknown. First of all, thank you for writing that in. Thank you for being part of the show. But I honestly, I think that's a false distinction. It's either a good movie or it isn't. At least to me. I know other people make a distinction and create two separate they compartmentalize their movie going, and that's fine. Whatever works for you, works for you. To me, though, it's a false distinction. A movie is either a good movie or it's not a good movie. It doesn't matter if it's a biopic. It doesn't matter if it's a Marvel film. It doesn't matter if it's a James Bond film. It doesn't matter if it's a murder mystery. And it doesn't matter if it's a Star Wars film. A good movie is a good movie. A bad movie is a bad movie. So I can't, again, because of the review embargo that's in place right now, I cannot go into the specifics or details about what I did like specifically or what I didn't like specifically. But I will say that I don't judge a movie as, well, I'm judging this just as an animated film. No, it's regardless of whether it's animated or not, it's either a good movie or it's not. At least to me. That's at least how I approach it. But all of us approach our film fandom in different ways. And my particular way of approaching it is just, it's a good movie or it's not. Whether it's animated, whether it's live action, whether it's stop motion, whether it's a drama, whether it's a comedy, whether it's a period piece, whether it's a reboot, whether it's an original. All that matters to me, is it a good movie or is it not a good movie? To me, The Rise of Skywalker is not a good movie. But that doesn't mean it'll be like that for you. And clearly, I just read some other pundits that they really enjoyed it too. So we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, so bottom line, Unknown, I don't make the distinction about, did I like it as a Star Wars movie, but not as a regular movie? I don't make that distinction personally. It's either good or not. And to me, it wasn't. But that's okay. I like a bunch of the other ones, and I'm sure I'll like more that there is to come. Thanks for sending that in, man, and thanks for being a part of the show, my friend. All right, Snoke's Missing Hairpiece. Great name, writes, what emotions did you feel when the credits roll? Yeah, again, great question that somebody asked just a little bit ago. I don't know how to answer that right now. I don't remember. Clearly nothing profoundly negative or profoundly positive, or that probably would have stuck with me. So I'm going to pay closer attention to how I feel at the end of my second viewing and see how I'm feeling about it then, and I'll report back. Snoke also writes, where does the music score rank among the others? Again, I'm not going to get into any rankings right now, but in the words of my wife, Ann Campea, John Williams scored the shit out of this movie. He did a great job with the score. I thought the score was great. I'm not ready to rank it or anything like that yet. Again, I need to see it again. But I thought the music was great. The soundtrack was great. And final question of the day. GXMan27 writes, I've been watching you and Christian since 2015 in advance of The Force Awakens. Thanks for getting me reinvigorated for Star Wars. Keep up the great work. Well, thank you so much, GXman. And listen, buddy, again, take what I say with the grain of salt that's me and how I reacted to the movie and how I appreciated it or lack thereof. Doesn't mean you're not going to love it. I think there's a lot of good things in this movie. I unfortunately felt the bad things outweighed the good, but you may have a totally opposite experience from me. So go in, get your popcorn, put extra butter on it, because we all know popcorn is nothing but a butter delivery device. Sit down, strap in, and watch yourself from Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker, and hopefully you'll like it more than I did. Maybe you won't. Maybe you will. We'll have to see how it goes. Guys, for me, and that was the final question today. Thank you everybody for sending in those questions. And by the way, guys, you can use the tip function. If you see in the top line of the description of the video, there's a link to a tip thing. You can use that 24/7. And if you put in a question on there now, it'll be the first one answered on the next show tomorrow. So just something for you guys to keep in mind. Anyway, so thank you to all you guys who sent in your questions, because number one, you gave us great fun things to talk about. Number two, you supported the channel while you're doing it. And we all thank you here, those of us involved in the YouTube channel. I just want to close off on this. I didn't like this movie. This is not the first Star Wars thing that I haven't liked. Obviously, I'm not a big fan of the prequels. I don't really like Clone Wars. There are things that I like and things I don't like about Star Wars. I am still a massive Star Wars fan, and I'll be excited for I'll be excited for getting to watch Mandalorian later. I'll be excited for the next Star Wars movie whenever it comes out, and then I'll go to that movie or watch that episode, and I'll either like it or I won't. But it won't change the fact that just because I didn't like this one installment or whatever, that I'm still not a massive Star Wars fan, and I am. And just because I did not have the experience of Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker that I wanted to, that doesn't mean you're not going to have the experience that you don't want to. But listen, guys, as a Star Wars fan, what I wanted to do was to be able to come on the show, this is before seeing it last night, and talk about what a great, marvelous experience I had. And I had a great time at the event. The premiere was wonderful. It was a lot of fun. Kudos and thank you to Disney for having me and a lot of my colleagues there, and we had a great time. So I wish I could come on here and tell you that I think the movie is fabulous. I want to support Star Wars and tell you it was fabulous. But my job, as you guys know, is not to tell you what you want to hear, and is not to tell you what I wanted to say. My job is simply to sit here in front of this stupid camera with my stupid face and tell you with my stupid voice what my honest opinion was. And I will always give you that. 100% of the time, I will always give you my honest opinion. And sometimes it'll be in line with yours. Sometimes it won't. And that's the fun of being film fans together. But yeah, this was a movie I've been looking forward to all year. Didn't quite work for me. But oh well, I hope you have a marvelous time. Don't forget, guys, we're going to have an open spoiler discussion about Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker on Sunday afternoon. Keep your eyes open for it. And don't forget, the John Campea Show returns tomorrow morning with me, and I think Robert's on the show tomorrow. I can't 100% sure remember. I'll talk to him about that. I think he's on the show tomorrow. Anyway, I got to run now and get down to watch Star Wars again. Thank you so much for being here, guys. My name is John Campea, and until next time, my movie-loving friends, bye-bye.